Manchester United began talks for a new striker. United are interested in Antoine Semenyo. Man United are weighing up entering the race for Lucas Chevalier. Ticket prices increase, and Højlund would gladly welcome a move back to Italy. All this plus more in today's video as we run through all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video. Let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off. Let's kick off with all the transfer talk. So obviously, I've had multiple reports from credible sources like Romano and etc. saying that one of United's transfer priorities this summer is going to be a striker, and then Florian Plettenberg, who can be quite reliable, more so for like German Bundesliga, Bayern Munich kind of talk, came out yesterday with the following. Manchester United are looking to strengthen their attack in the summer and are intensively scouting the market. Talks have already begun. In the Bundesliga, United are closely monitoring Hugo Ekitike and Benjamin Šeško. Viktor Gyökeres and Victor Osimhen also remain high on their list as well. So, we've been linked with Šeško before. Bought a video the other day actually, which was saying something very similar. Viktor Gyökeres, Victor Osimhen. I don't think there's any surprise. Hugo Ekitike would be an interesting shout to kind of bring in. He's having an unbelievable season in the Bundesliga. So yeah, I suppose the obvious question, who are we picking from that? So I did a little comparison for you. So Ekitike is 22 years old, 38 appearances, 19 goals and 8 assists for Frankfurt this season. So a total of 27 goals and assists. Šeško's 21. God, I thought he was older than that. He seems to be a player that's, because we've been linked with him since he was very, very young. I thought he was a little bit older than 21, but 21 years old, 36 appearances, 17 goals, 6 assists, so 23 goals and assists this season. Gyökeres' stats, that's unreal. 41 appearances, 40 goals and 10 assists. 50 goals and assists for Gyökeres this season so far. And Osimhen, 26 years old, 30 appearances, 26 goals and 5 assists, so 31 goals and assists. I mean, if you're looking for goal contributions, then Gyökeres stands out like a sore thumb. Osimhen's not far behind. Obviously played less games as well, but if you look at the goal-to-game ratio, it's pretty consistent. Šeško, 23, obviously the younger one. Ekitike having a really, really good season with Frankfurt as well. So some really interesting options there as well. Would be expensive, though. The rumours were, but all around the same kind of fee, I believe. So Ekitike, I've read some reports saying about 60 to 70 million pounds. Šeško, I think, would cost around the same, maybe 60 million. Gyökeres, there's an agreement between 60 to 70 million as well, and Osimhen's release clause is 63 million. So I think they would all be valued around the same kind of fee if you can get them out of their clubs for that amount. I mean, Osimhen's got a release clause. Gyökeres has got a gentleman's agreement. I don't know how realistic Šeško is. Ekitike's one, a really interesting option. I was watching a video actually the other day by Atlas Football, if you follow them on YouTube, and he did a really good thing saying that he felt Ekitike would be a really good fit for United. So that's an interesting one. But yeah, let me know in the comments, what do you think? I think, some would depend on Champions League football. Obviously, we know the salary issue with certain players like Victor Osimhen as well. But we keep getting linked with these players, whether that's clickbait or whether there's agent talk or whether we are just genuinely speaking to agents and trying to work out fees. A lot will depend on the budget, though. We don't know what budget we've got still, because a lot of that will depend on if we make Champions League football, then that would increase the budget, which means you might have a bit more cash to go for somebody like this. Obviously, the other options, or probably more realistic options, are Mateta and Delap, who two strikers that are heavily linked. We do get linked a lot with Jonathan David, who I think would be a good shout for a free transfer, but they're not from the most credible sources. I would put Mateta and Delap above Jonathan David, because the Jonathan David one feels a little bit clickbaity, or a little bit like an agent putting Man United's name in to try and get more wages or try to generate interest from other clubs, personally, as much as I would kind of like that deal. But yeah, let me know in the comments who you're picking. Ekitike, Šeško, Gyökeres and Osimhen. Forget about wages, right? Forget about salary and budget and stuff. Just give us your choice out of those four. If money was no problem, out of those four strikers, who would you kind of pick for United? The standout for me is Viktor Gyökeres. Like 50 goals and assists is insane. Plus would have that relationship with Ruben Amorim. But yeah, give us your thoughts in the comments below. Now, obviously, with the striker situation, or sticking with the striker situation, there's been a report coming from Gazzetta dello Sport, who today claim that Napoli want to sign a new striker this summer. Højlund is reportedly one of the top names on manager Antonio Conte's wish list. The publication add that the Dane would gladly return to Italy. United signed him for £63 million. They plan to request £51 million to avoid a loss in their financial books. I'm sure the report I did the other day, Samuel Luckhurst, was saying about 40 million, correct me if I'm wrong, for Højlund to avoid, but obviously you ask for more, don't you, in negotiations and stuff. So that's one to potentially keep an eye on. There has been a few links with Højlund and Napoli. Obviously, we've had all the rumours around, swap deals with Osimhen and stuff, which don't happen in football, but you could use them as a make weight. You could buy Osimhen and then but in turn buy Højlund. That's how that kind of deal would work. So I actually think there's still a player in Højlund, regardless of his form so far this season. And I don't want to, I just generally think that maybe a load, or even just being as a backup, like he shouldn't be the starting every single week for Man United at his age and with his experience. So if you've got somebody like a Gyökeres or an Osimhen or a Ekitike or someone like that, for example, and then you can rotate between the two. So when one of them's having a bad period, you've got another striker, or you can bring him off the bench. Like, I like that idea with Højlund personally, because I do still think there's a player in there. He's just had a really, really bad, he's had a really bad season, which most young players do, to be fair. So, but obviously, I'll trust the club to make the decisions as well. They know more about what's going on behind the scenes and stuff than we do, but we'll have to keep an eye on it for you. Let me know what you think about that, though, in the comments. Now, let's move on to goalkeepers. So Manchester United are weighing up whether to attempt to win the race to sign Lucas Chevalier after his performances for Lille have caught the eye of head coach Ruben Amorim and Old Trafford recruitment chiefs as they put plans in place for the summer transfer window. Manchester United are considering a move for Chevalier. According to Gimme Sports sources, he is after he has grabbed their attention at a time when a long-term future of Andre Onana as their first-choice goalkeeper is being contemplated behind the scenes in response to a string of errors throughout the season. And then the report went on to say that he's in the last 2 years of his contract. He's only on about £20,000 per week in wages. They were saying that Man City and Barcelona were linked with him in January, and that Lille were asking for around £34 million as well. Chelsea, of course, are interested, as they are with every single player I think that we get linked to at the moment. There's a report that Chelsea would be interested as well, despite God knows how many goalkeepers they probably got on their books as well. So, but that came from Gimme Sport via Danny Rust and Dean Jones, who are actually pretty decent sources. Not a player I've watched a ton of, doing some research stuff. Looks a good goalkeeper, but it's difficult to judge goalkeepers because on the highlight reel they always look good, and it's always their saves. It's never their their mistakes or the ones that you can't judge it, I don't think, for me personally. So I'd love your thoughts on that. The reports that I've read and the kind of research that I've done around him, he is very, very highly regarded, very highly rated, seen as like a modern footballer, apparently good on the ball as well. But we'll have to just kind of wait and see. I'd say at the moment that would be an expensive outlay for a goalkeeper. Obviously, James Trafford's the other one we've been linked with for 20 million, would be a lot cheaper, but the reports are that Newcastle are further ahead in that deal. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see what happens regarding that, but would be an interesting option. Give us your thoughts in the comments, though. If you know more about him, then let me know. Let me know in the comments, because it'll be interesting to hear more about the player. So, right now, let's move on to Semenyo. So, Manchester United are among the clubs interested in Antoine Semenyo from Bournemouth. Could be one to watch this summer. Now, that came from Dylan McBennett, who's actually a decent source when it comes to United, was saying also that Jason Wilcox is a big fan of Antoine Semenyo. Around 35 million to 40 million euros is the price for Semenyo will go for this summer. So what's that? About 30 to 35 million roughly. Premier League proven. What we thinking is a player that actually, is a decent Premier League player. 32 appearances this season, 9 goals, 5 assists. Obviously, Bournemouth are having a really good, or they were having a really good season. Their current form's hit a bit of a brick wall at the moment. But, statistically, pretty decent in terms of, shots and progressive carries, take-ons, very defensive as well, blocks, clearances, aerials one as well, so could be one that maybe could play in multiple positions as seen by his positional map. We can play left wing back, right wing back, and if you remember back to Omar Barada's comments where he was saying they were looking for players that can fit in multiple positions, and Semenyo would tick that kind of box. I just don't know about that fee. 35 to 40 million from Bournemouth seems a little bit low in my opinion. I mean, if you could get him for that sort of price, 25 years old, decent age, can play in a few different positions, Premier League proven, scoring goals, creating assists. I mean, having a really good kind of run for Bournemouth. It wouldn't be the worst idea I've heard of. It just would depend on the price, because I think getting Premier League, I think there's value in going for Premier League proven players, right? But the problem with doing that is the cost, because most Premier League clubs have money, so they know that if you want to buy a player from the Premier League, it's going to be a lot more expensive. So I would kind of be a bit cautious around the price potentially, but it would be a decent shout, I think, to come in and can kind of cover can play in the inside kind of 10 positions, could also cover it at wing back as well, if need be. So, that wouldn't be the worst idea I've ever heard of, but let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, let's go through the ticket price stuff. So, Omar Barada, after 11 consecutive years of price freezes, we increased prices by 5% for the past 2 seasons and intend to do the same next season to offset continued rises in operating costs. Now, this shouldn't come as a surprise, because the Jim Ratcliffe interview that he did with Gary Neville the other day he did suggest that yes, maybe season tickets or ticket prices are going back up again. He'd said just by a small amount. I mean, 5%. It's still a slap in the face, though, I think, to fans, especially like when it comes to the finances at United, right? I understand the reasons why they're doing these things, because you cannot run a business if you're losing £100 million per season, right? So they are going to have to make some very, very difficult decisions. I don't agree with the decisions they're making, cutting the cost for charities and, putting all the kind of financial burden on the fans. And the issue that I have with all of this, though, is when you've got the actual owners of the club that have taken £1 billion out of the club and never put one single penny into the club, sat over in America, smoking cigars and not doing anything financially other than taking money out, then it just makes me feel sick to my stomach that the fans and we're kind of paying for that, as if we should be, really glad that we've got the privilege of having the Glazers as our owners, because the Glazers could put money into the club. They're allowed to, I think under FFP, they're allowed to put like 100 million of their own money in as a one-time thing. Correct me if I'm wrong on that in the comments. Or they could sell some shares to Sir Jim, and Sir Jim would do the same, because Sir Jim's put more money into United than the Glazers ever had, and they've been here 20 years, and Jim's been here, 18 months. I just don't like... It just doesn't feel right for me when everything's kind of going up and people are losing their jobs and the Glazers are just sat there taking money out instead of when they could put some money back in to help us out, and they refuse to do it because they're absolute cockroaches. But that's my thoughts on the kind of Glazers. I'm going to move on because I have a rant whenever I speak about the Glazers. So Omar Barada also said, while they did not agree with all the decisions, we would like to thank the members of our FAB and their tough but constructive advice throughout the consultation process. We believe that taken together, these measures represent a fair and balanced outcome for fans while generating additional revenues to strengthen the club. The Manchester United Supporters Trust, and we believe the enormous amounts of dialogue and fan groups have had with the club, alongside public pressure and exerted through the media and various protests, helped restrain the increase. So were effectively saying that had it not been for all the dialogue, the protest, the social media and the media kind of campaign, it maybe would have been more. According to Must, which is insane. And Manchester United will increase season ticket prices in the latest measure to try and grow the club revenues. Prices will rise by around 5% for 25-26 season, for an average increase of £2.50 per ticket per game. There will be price freeze for season ticket holders under the age of 16. And they're doing all sorts of other things as well, like selling. They're going to move some of the fans that are sitting behind the dugout to a different part of the ground in order to sell their tickets at an increased price as well. So, you know, it is what it is. I know like for me personally, again, just to kind of quickly mention it before I go on another rant, is I understand the reason why we're having to do this, because, as I mentioned, you cannot run a business if you're losing £100 million a season. It is starting to have a massive impact on, obviously, the playing squad and limiting our ability to actually move forward as a football club and sign players and stuff, right? So you have to do something about it. I don't like what they're doing about it personally. I think there's other ways that you could potentially go around doing things like cutting the cost for charities and stuff like that as well. And then obviously increasing the ticket prices for the third season in a row. Again, it's one of these. And also, I don't like it, the visuals of it, when your owners are the Glazers, who can put money into the club if they want to, but refuse to. So therefore, we have to pay for that privilege while they sit in America and continuously just do nothing but try to take money away from the club, although they're not allowed to do that. But I'm pretty sure that with the new stadium comes and they're still the owners and everything like that, I'm pretty sure they're going to start taking dividends out of the club again. What if they're still in charge, which could be the case as well. But yeah, it doesn't feel right for me, none of this, when you've got that going on. But that's just my opinion. You can share yours in the comments below. That's you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you in the next one.